Okay, welcome to the Ontario Network of CAPC and CPNP projects. Welcome to a network discussion. This discussion specifically focusing on the topic of programming during the COVID pandemic. This is a follow-up discussion to one that we had in August, on August 21st, and many of you were there, which is great. And we will be doing a bit of a review of some of the comments that we heard, that we gathered together in August, and then continuing on the conversation. Before I go any further, I would like to take a moment to offer a land acknowledgement. Our network is provincial in scope in terms of the province of Ontario. So as a network, we recognize that there are those folks gathered here today from all across the land that has become known as Ontario. And our network would like to give, acknowledge and give thanks to the First Peoples of the territories where we all work and serve, and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land that allows us to do the very important work that we do with families and communities. I myself, in southwestern Ontario, in Kitchener-Waterloo, recognize that this is land traditionally held by the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe and the Neutral people. So with that, I welcome everybody here. And one thing I did want to talk about for a moment during this time, as we do a land acknowledgement, is just to bring everyone's awareness to a course that's online. I am hoping people are seeing my screen share here. Is that working, Colleen? Are you seeing that? Okay. I mentioned this in the newsletter a couple of times, but I thought I would mention it while I have some folks here. A really great free online resource called the Indigenous Canada Free Online Course. And it's offered through the University of Alberta. If you want more information on it, I'm happy to email it out. And
I just said Chantal and I are doing fresh food delivery. Hello?
Hello?
Sorry, I unmuted by accident, so I thought I better follow through.
Oh.
It's Chantal and Andrea here, so I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt that.
That's okay.
I had already interrupted.
So
we're doing fresh food. Yeah, we're doing fresh food delivery today. So we're on the road listening through car audio. So I wanted to let everybody know we're here and listening, but you won't hear much from us.
Okay. Thanks. Glad you're able to dial in. We're glad you're here.
Sorry about the interruption.
No problem at all. It's great to hear from you. And just finally, I just wanted to say that I had put out a call, and if there are folks who are interested in going through these modules together as a group, that's part of this free online course, I'd be more than happy to organize that. Maybe it might be a monthly check-in, or I'm not quite sure how it would work, but if you want to learn more, I'm happy to send anybody a link, or if you just simply Google Indigenous Canada Free Online Course, University of Alberta, it would take you straight to it. So anyway, please let me know if you have any interest in that. And I think it does look like I've signed up for it, but I haven't actually begun it. But what I've glanced through looks really, really great. So today's agenda. Let me know if you have any trouble seeing or hearing anything that we're sharing here. But what we thought was that I wanted to again remind everybody that we are recording the large group portions of this meeting. I also wanted to make sure everybody knows that closed captioning is an option. You should be able to find a button on your Zoom screen that says closed caption, show subtitles. So if you want, you can activate that. And it's a good reminder for me or anybody who's speaking that the subtitles work better if we speak a little bit slowly, and hopefully those can be a help to you. I do welcome you to introduce yourself in the chat if you have a moment to do that. Maybe your name, your program, and what zone you're in. I see Chantel posted in the chat here too. Chantel and Andrea doing their delivery. So, and Manpreet from the York region, welcome. She's our kitty cat joining us here on the screen. So please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. I did want to take a moment to introduce a few members of the coordinating committee who are going to be helping out, and I see there are a couple of zone chairs here. Ellen Bachtold is here. She's the Southwest zone chair. You can see her there. Ellen, did you want to say anything?
Just say hello, and I'm looking for a co-chair if anybody wants to join me. So. Great.
Hang out at those fun Party Southwest Zone.
Yeah, really fun meetings, very fun. And so.
Rachel, I want to acknowledge you're here as you're the Northeast Zone Chair, and you are a rep on the coordinating committee. So Rachel is there. If you want to give a wave or say hello, feel free. Yvette is also here both as the zone of the chair of the Northwest Zone, and also is a representative on the coordinating committee. You can see Yvette Jones there. Yep. Colleen Gelman, she's a coordinating committee rep for the Northwest Zone and a co-chair on the coordinating committee. Nettie Wall is here. You want to give a wave, Nettie? She's a rep for the Southwest Zone. Kim Groskleg, rep for the East Zone, right? Oh my goodness, I suddenly had a nervous moment. You're East Zone, right, Kim? Yes, you are. Yeah, okay. And did I miss anybody else from Rhonda is here. I see. I don't know if you're coming on camera. Rhonda is also a rep for the Northwest Zone. So I like to make more of a habit to introduce these folks who are volunteering their time to support the network and represent your zones at the coordinating committee. They do a great job. There's Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda. And I know Blanca is here as well. She is with Public Health Agency of Canada. So welcome, Blanca. It's great to have you here. And let's see, where are we now? I do have a quick poll just to get us going in terms of where are we at with our programming in Ontario. So it is, what type of programming is your CAPC or CPMP project running? And is it only remote, virtual, only face-to-face, or a combination? So if you could take a moment to answer that, just to get a sense of where we're at. Okay. Most people have voted. I'll give you one more second to vote. Okay. So it looks like, where are we at here? A slight majority are doing a combination of both face-to-face and virtual programming. and 40% are doing only remote, and 5% are doing only face-to-face programming. So that's, let me just make that note of that. Okay, thank you. Does that surprise anybody, or does that seem about right? Is there anything different you might have expected? Okay. Surprising, Jennifer? Yeah.
I'm surprised that so many people actually, like 60% have made that step into doing face-to-face, some at least.
Right, when you combine both the combination, the folks doing both and only, yeah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to hear what people's experiences are. Colleen, did you?
I think we'll capture it when we chat. I was just going to say, though, I think for most of us, it's a modified.
Right.
Very different than it did the in-person.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's my internet that's not capturing, but you did for me. I lost you a little bit there, but it sounded like you were saying I'm sure it's not the same in person as offering before.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to turn my video off because I am having internet issues today.
Sure. Yeah, sometimes that can help for sure. So before we go into the today's questions, which as you can see here, I thought it might be helpful to just spend just maybe 5 or 10 minutes just looking quickly at some of the discussion we had in August. I did a little bit of summarizing just to give us some context as to where we were feeling we were at a few months ago. So let me just move over to that page. And let's see here. One of the questions that we last time was what challenges and barriers are you facing in resuming your in-person programs? And I looked at the responses that we came up with together, and it seemed to be in 3 kind of general areas that we talked about. And one area being actually, access and the numbers of people attending programming, both from concerns on both ends to low numbers because of things like lack of access to transportation or technology. And then there was actually some concern about larger numbers because one example was that some school-age children were showing up to the programming. Another area that when we talked about challenges were policies and guidelines, and with comments like concern about lack of information, lack of guidelines, uncertainty about policies and procedures, in different interpretations of guidelines was another challenge. And then finally, in this area of programming, one concern that was noted was an increase in the potential or the experience of domestic violence. How to navigate sort of the pedagogy or the way of offering programming. And I know in late summer we were feeling good about offering outdoor programming, but recognizing that colder weather is coming, and it's coming even faster now. So so those were some of the kind of a quick summary of some of the challenges and barriers that we talked about in August. We also talked about how we might think about changing our in-person programs to adapt to the realities of COVID. And again, I kind of went through what we came to together and kind of grouped them into these different 5 different themes. And we had just some general considerations, things like, you know, doing this combination approach, you know, thinking about how we can just sort of explore and take things slow and easy. And this reality that we're, at that time, we felt like we were in this sort of short-term programming cycle, which can be very challenging. Another area that popped up was sort of the screening or the registration processes that we do with families. A concern that, you know, registration process will need to change, making use of online questionnaires. How are we pre-screening with registration? There was also group numbers, thinking about the realities of perhaps smaller group size. Are we going to be doing things by appointment? Feeling taxed in terms of resources. And then there was considerations about space. Again, making the use of the outdoors, or are there larger spaces that we can access, maybe more partnering with community centers. And then finally, which I found just really invigorating, was all the innovation that I'm hearing so much from projects. So ideas that were being used, like porch visits or picnic tables, one-to-one phone calls, curbside wellness chats, activity packages, acknowledging that the food and programming will have to change with pre-packaging, delivering families containers or kits with supplies for crafts or foods or things like that. So I just wanted to take the time to just kind of review a little bit some of the conversation and some of the ideas and some of the comments and concerns that came out in our discussion in August, before we kind of move into our questions today. So does anybody have any thoughts or concerns about our discussion in August? I don't think there was anything else I wanted to go over. Well, this could be, yeah, go ahead.
I just have to say that was a really good summary. Thank you. But it feels like that was forever ago, and at the same time, you know, how much has changed, how much we've learned in that short time.
Right, right.
Thank
It'll
you.
be interesting. It's interesting now to see where we're at, for sure. So let's get there. Let's go there. Let's go back to our discussion for today here. Okay, so today's questions, which hopefully you got in an email earlier today and had a little bit of time to think about, but so we thought it would be helpful to spend some time together thinking about what has been working well for the past few months. What are some unexpected challenges? What supports do you need? And how can the network be a support? So I'll put those questions in the chat. And my thought was to divide into a few groups and have some smaller group discussion about these questions, and then come back to the larger group and report back. Does that feel like a good and helpful process for us as a way to discuss together these questions? Okay, So I just think we've got 28 people. Think about how many people in a group we would like. 4 or 5? Yeah, we could do 5 groups of about 5, looks like. Okay, so bear with me and I will create the breakout rooms, and I will try to divvy up our volunteer recorders and facilitators. So that will be Kim is there, and Nidhi and Colleen and Yvette and Blanca. And yeah, Colleen, did you have?
Cindy, just clarify for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, was looking at something else.
No.
So you want us to come back with our 3 main points for each question? Is that what you had said in the instructions?
I'm sorry. Yes, actually, yes. For
3
each
points.
question,
Okay.
it would be great if each group brought, aim to have about 3 main points to bring.
Okay, 3 main points. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guideline.
Give or take.
Right, right. Okay, so I got a note to maybe keep Nettie and Trudy in a separate room. I can do that. Okay. All right. So this will just take me a moment. At least I think it'll just take me a moment. Okay, and Trudy and Nettie not in the same room, is that right?
I think either way could work.
Either way could work. Okay. If I've put you in separate rooms now, so if you want something different, just come back to the main room and I can move you if that doesn't work out. So in breakout room 1, I have Blanca as the note taker. In breakout room 2, I don't have a note taker. I will move Nettie to breakout room 2. Okay, and breakout, so Nettie, you're the note taker for breakout room 2. Yvette, you're the note taker for breakout room 3. Kim, you're the note taker for breakout room 4. And Colleen, you're the note taker for breakout room 5. All right, sound good? Okay. All right, here we go. And the questions were in the chat, and I will send the questions to the rooms as well, so you have them there. And let's see, it's 2:30 now. How does 20 minutes sound? Does that seem? Should I check in at 20 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay. So you should be getting a message to join a room. Welcome back. It's nice not to be on my own. Nice to see your faces. Oh, Sherry Beaton is here. Hey, Sherry. I hope you've had a wonderful discussion. Okay. Just to give you a moment to gather your thoughts. And so we will be going through these. How about we go through the questions one by one, and each group can take turn sharing their thoughts. And what I will do is I will make some notes here on my screen as well. And okay. Get myself set up here. Okay. So the first question that we looked at or asked you to look at was what has been working well over the last couple of months since we last met in August. So which group would like to go first in sharing some of your thoughts on this?
I can go. I think we were at breakout room 4.
Okay.
We had lots of good discussion around this question. Many of us feel that we are more connected to some families more than ever now. We're getting people that we actually used to miss, and it really revolves around the programs being more accessible. We're now dropping off resources. We're utilizing social media to an extent that we never did before. Vouchers are mailed to clients. We're making personal phone calls. And our use of social media was a big thing that was discussed. And again, dropping off the kits really helps getting families to join in our programs prior to a Zoom activity. So that was really something that worked really well to get engagement of families. And at those drop-ins, then wellness checks were able to be done, and that was a really good way to check in with families. And the last thing I want to say is that this whole period has really pushed us all to grow in ways that we never thought we would. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else has anything they'd like to add to that from our group. Please do.
I would be curious, just to hear a little bit more about the being pushed to grow. I mean, I guess I heard that in all the things that you were sharing, for sure. But was there anything else that came to mind when you think of ways that you've been pushed to grow a little bit?
I think it was around our skills.
Yeah.
Especially around social media and Zoom meetings. I mean, that's something that is very new, and it took a while to become more comfortable with that. And I think we're all getting pretty good at them now.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else did we talk about as far as that goes? I think even the virtual programming, being in front of a video camera, if you're pre-recording anything.
Great.
Sydney, we did want to thank you for having shown us all how to do Zoom prior to this all happening, because we would have been in a situation if we hadn't have experienced it a little bit. So thankfully.
Well, you are so very welcome. And I have to say, I'm sure it's a level playing field now, it's great. It's really awesome and I think it supports our network and our ability to connect and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's lovely. Thank you. And thanks, Kim. That was group 4. How about group, was there a 5th group? There was 5, right?
Yeah, that was me, Sydney, Colleen, our group. So some have been captured. So utilizing social media, our group specified Facebook and using Facebook as an engagement tool, not just for posting, but both actually. And then the big one was outdoor programming, working very well. for a few of us.
Mhm.
And check-ins. So I'm not sure if that is captured here.
Check-ins.
And food programs.
Food programs have been working well.
Yeah, like combining a food drop-off with a cooking class and expectations with that families are sending a photo or some sort of feedback.
I've heard a lot from network members that I've got a chance to visit with. I've heard awesome things about food programs like that, like a combination of the food drop-off and a video or a live thing. So that's awesome. Great, thanks, Colleen. How about group 1?
Hi, Sydney. Yes, we had, I guess I could add, some have been mentioned, but I was mentioned that Zoom has been working really well for connecting and programming. Also, weather has cooperated for them to be able to offer really great activities, outdoor activities, and seasonal activities like pumpkin carving and other fun things. Also, being able to offer different kinds of kits. An art kit was mentioned, our art and literacy kit for kids, and they're able to deliver this. So being able to do those sort of packages and delivering them. Also clothing swaps and distributing things that are needed, like diapers and wipes, baby wipes, formula. And again, being able to take pictures and having the family sharing that through social media. And the other neat one that was mentioned was a kind of a lunch activity where the families connect virtually, and the program is able to deliver pizza, and they're sort of able to have lunch together. You know, lunch was part of their programming before COVID, so this is kind of a way of continuing to offer that togetherness, but apart kind of thing. And home visiting was also working well in those areas where they've been able to do home visiting. And, but mostly phone conversations was also mentioned, that those have been.
Oh, did we lose Blanca? Yeah, I'm sure she'll be back. Do you want to go next, Yvette?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I can say all of the above, but then we have a couple of things that I want to add in here that I thought were sort of the difference in what's there. Number one is more flexibility on the type of platforms that we're using, whether it's a virtual, in-person, whether it's Zoom, or whether it's, you know, dual or different ways of reaching people. So that's something that we've all learned how to do. One of the ones I really liked was that distance is not an issue anymore. So, you know, families that are now maybe moved out of region but need the supports are able to connect in, and that's been a very positive thing. And one thing that I think is worth mentioning, that the electrostatic sprayer disinfectant is an amazing tool to have if you're trying to start to run your programs, because you just spray everything down and then it's cleaned and you're able to move on to your next group. Because like everybody else, our groups are smaller, and so the disinfection becomes quite an onerous task, and that's highly recommended. Expensive, highly recommended.
Sorry, Yvette, you said an electrostatic sprayer.
Sprayer.
Is there more description you can give of that, or anybody?
It's for disinfecting. You spray everything, and then it just, once it's disinfected everything, then it just kind of evaporates into the air so that there's no toxic residue. But
it's on the Health Canada website as well.
I don't think the sprayer is, but the, or is it, Lori? But the spray that we're using, which is the stuff that dissipates. I can send you the link, Sydney, if that's helpful.
Yeah.
just something that our early on partners told us about, and it cuts down cleaning time by 70%. And considering instead of having groups of 10 people, we're having groups of 2. We're having to do more frequent groups and then clean in between. So this has been a lifesaver, but it is extremely expensive. But if Health Canada lets us reallocate money that we're not using because we're not doing the things we were before, it's a good purchase.
That's a good point, for sure. Okay, yeah, that link would be great, Jennifer.
Yeah, please send that link.
Yeah, will do.
Jennifer and Yvette, did you say then you're not using chemicals?
No, it's a chemical spray. It's called Oxyvor or something like that.
Okay, yeah, the school boards here have one, yeah.
Yeah.
We need something that we're not using chemicals. When we think of really considering the health of children and families.
Right, but this is actually, it's recommended on the Health Canada website, I believe, because it turns, it doesn't leave a residue, and it just turns to water after it's mixes with air, is my understanding.
Okay, that's great. Awesome. Was there anything else, Yvette?
No, those are my main 3 things that I wanted in this category to bring in that were really covered already. So.
Great, thank you. Now, I don't think we quite got everybody yet, did we? Who have I missed? Nettie, did you go?
No, not yet. I think most of the points that we discussed have been covered here. I was going to say the one that we discussed most perhaps was porch drop-offs, and the ability to connect with people, even, you know, standing at least 6 feet apart, but just being able to see the people that would normally be in the program, and being able to, you know, have that somewhat face-to-face contact, and just realizing how much of a difference it makes to be able to see the people. So those were working well, better than trying to just reach out via the phone or even online. And so the groups have been very creative with dropping off food, but also craft supplies. And one group is doing quite an interesting Halloween event with their families. So yeah, I thought that was quite amazing. So I think that was the bulk of what we discussed. If anyone from my group wants to add something else, you're welcome to.
I would just add, it's kind of to go back to the statement that was in the very first, opportunity to grow. I would say if there's a will, there's a way. So Diane summed it up. They did it. We do it too. We do a very large Halloween party, but this year we did it virtually and different. So I think just the creativity in the staff has been phenomenal. There's been never said no, just how do we do it? So I think summing this up, where there's a will, there's a way, is what's been really working well. People have just become so creative in what they're doing. So that's how I see it. This has been unbelievable growth for all of our staff, because they come and go, how do we do it? I'm like, how do we? And somehow it happens. And so that's just a summary of, it's been so interesting to hear, but that personal growth is, you know, the challenges of doing online and putting your face out there and all of those, that's if there's a will, there's a way. So that's how I see it. Thanks.
Thank you, Rhonda. So true. Awesome. Did we go through all the groups? I think we did. Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's just very inspiring and awesome to hear all of that. So let's move on to the challenges. I did invite, you know, unexpected challenges, but because I guess, you know, we were sort of really well aware of our expected challenges in terms of maintaining connection and delivering programs. But what thoughts did you have around this question? And maybe let's start with group 5 and make our way down. And I forget who group 5 is.
Colleen here. Sorry, I was just, I've got it closed. I've got everything open here. Okay. So what has been, can Can you bring your screen up?
My screen?
Over on unexpected challenges.
Yeah.
Okay. The uncertainties, just the uncertainties with some areas, programs stopping and starting. And I think for all of us, the uncertainties, you just never know. And also guidelines changing, I think, from local health units. Another unexpected challenge was partnering with other programs and agencies, and the fact that they could be working under and governed by different guidelines and expectations.
Mhm.
Okay.
Space, just the amount of space that is required for safety, you know, how many meters per person,
Mhm.
and the pre-registered programs, meaning that smaller numbers of families can be served at one time.
I apologize, Colleen. What did you initially say about space? You said
But the amount of space required for health
Right.
and safety per person, I can't remember what it is. There's a calculation,
right,
but it decreases the number of families
right.
programs are able to serve. And one person in our group, it was Rachel, just mentioned, you know, sometimes it's one family and then you're missing the point or the value in having families supporting each other and children being with other children.
Right, right, yes.
And the last
Oh, no.
unexpected challenge was just the staffing for cohorted groups. And oh, you lost our.
I did. Oh, good. I found it. Sorry, I had a panic moment there where I deleted everything, but undo work. My apologies, Colleen.
No problem. Staffing requirements for cohorted groups. In some areas, you're only allowed to staff one group. So then that also restricts the amount of programming that you can offer.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Anything else from Manpreet, Sarah, or San that I might have forgot?
I know, Colleen, I think you covered it all for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Group 5. Group 4?
Okay, that's our group. Just a few more things to add to that. A lack of reliable and or affordable internet cell service, that has been a real challenge, especially in some rural areas. And for many of us that are not doing any in-person programming, word of mouth used to be our best advertiser, our promotion. And so we just felt like that we were struggling to get those new clients, some new clients, because that's missing. And the other thing I wanted to mention was having enough time staff-wise to do all the work, especially when you're trying to do some virtual programming and then you've got your drop-off days, and at the drop-offs you're checking in with families, and so there just doesn't seem to be enough time some days.
Yeah. Lot of driving around, I'm hearing from some people that they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
Thank you.
One thing I didn't add, Sydney, it's Sherry, I was in that group. One thing I forgot to mention was the unexpected demand on when we've sort of pivoted and offering program, I'm speaking specifically of CPMP, when it started going pretty much all virtual one-on-one phone calls or you know, Zoom face-to-face calls or what have you, and mailing the resources, all of a sudden there in Sault Ste. Marie in particular, in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, there was quite a spike in registrations. And so that wasn't anticipated. And since Algoma Public Health is largely who delivers our CPNP, that's our CPNP partner, they're pretty much overwhelmed with COVID management. It's been a lot of it's been a lot of dancing just to try and accommodate. I mean, you never turn anyone away, but it was an unexpected increase.
Yeah, we're hearing both, right? But as Kim was talking about the struggle in gaining participants, and then we have these pockets and areas where it's the opposite problem. So it feels like a boom or bust almost situation. Yeah. Thank you, Sherry. Now I've lost track what group we're at. Group 3. Is that, I think?
Okay, so some of our points have already been covered, but there's a few things. Teaching families how to do Zoom or Zoom problem solving has been an issue, and some of the families are homeschooling, and then that's conflict of interest trying to get onto Zoom and homeschool and so on. So that's been a challenge. I'm just trying to do the ones that nobody else has done here. Space has been an issue, getting space. People who previously rented in church basements no longer can use church basement. Somebody's in an armory. I know this was mentioned, but it's finding a place that will now rent out space to you has been a bit of a challenge for my group. One thing was some families don't want outside connections and they don't trust Zoom, and some families are English second language, and that can take a lot longer than you think it's going to last to do. So that was sort of mentioned, but it was brought out that maybe a mom may not have any contact at all except this one worker that drops off some food. So it's not a drop off, it's a half an hour or 45 minutes of connection. And do I have anything else here that's not been covered? Group, am I missing anything? Lots of cleaning if you have any in programming, and that's something that wasn't such a big issue. Oh, I know one was often now we're being required to work 7 days a week first. And it's not required, but if they have your phone number, they're texting you, and so work can be, I have a question and it's Sunday afternoon, or it's Saturday night and this is happening and how can you help me? And so most of my group found that though there was no longer just this 9 to 5 barrier, work barrier. So did I get everything, everybody?
Good job, Yvette.
Thanks, Yvette.
Okay.
Goodness, that that's the being the toll on our physical and mental health, with not only navigating COVID and all the strangeness, but feeling on call all the time is pretty significant. Group 2.
Okay, so a lot of ours have been mentioned as well. Barriers to access, so whether that is not having the space or not having access to the technology needed. I know some were discussing families wanting to be able to see their children, but needing to perhaps take certain courses in order to do so and not having access. So there was certainly some families needing that extra support, but not able to access it for various reasons. Privacy when online, so if they were taking say a parenting course or something like that, but privacy was definitely an issue and an extra thing to sort of an extra piece to consider and to work through. Weather, so during the summer it was great, but now some of the programs may not be able to run the same way because of the weather changing. Parents want more than virtual, so I think it's been mentioned, but people just kind of getting tired of being online and wanting to see each other face to face. Yeah, access visits, where do you do those for families who may not have their children in their home? Those are the ones that I captured.
Thank you, Nidhi.
If I could just add, we never talked about it, but I really, Colleen mentioned it a bit about cohorts for staffing. The other issue is COVID testing and having staff available. So that's also been a real limitation for us. Soon as staff go for a test, there's a limitation on how long they can come back to work. So that has put some can work from home, but they're still even getting the test. Staffing don't have enough time off. So that's been a bit of a challenge that we weren't really expecting. People have no sick time left very quickly because of COVID. So how do we kind of maneuver on that with staffing? Thanks.
Thanks, Rhonda, for bringing that up, because that is huge, right? And that, you know, we're living this for the first time.
Colleen, I apologize. I don't know if it was on my end, but I think I had a little hiccup in the Wi-Fi waves. So I did not hear what you said.
Oh, okay. I apologize, Cindy. I just said it's just everything takes so much time because these are all new issues we're dealing with, as Rhonda commented on. Figuring that out, what's fair to staff.
That's right. That's right.
You want your staff, you know, but you only have so much funding and.
Very true. I think we're on group 2 now for this question. Is that right? Group 1. Thanks, Nettie. That's Blanca, I think.
Yep, I'm gonna stay off my video because my internet is not working great.
Sure.
So most of the issues that came up have been mentioned. There was a concern that participants are using their data and maybe not having really great data plans. And so there's a concern that this is costing families financially to stay connected to programs and resources. So they, this project was going to be looking into problem solving around that, engaging how this is affecting families. And also the places or, you know, places like libraries and other community places that used to be available for families to access internet and different ways of connecting are closed. And so that's a resource that's been lost during this time. Let's see what else. So not having the connection with participants is difficult, and but also feeling the pressure from agencies to make that in-person contact happen. So it's kind of like being in the middle of, you know, the challenges of coming together in person, and at the same time the pressure from the host agency to make that happen.
Right.
And let me see what else has not been mentioned. An unexpected challenge is one of the projects was mentioning that their office is moving during this challenging time, so that's added to the challenge.
Right. Yes,
I think other things have been mentioned, of course, is the extra time that staff have to put into planning, prepping, cleaning, repackaging, pre-packaging, all that's been mentioned, but that's definitely a challenge. I think those are, everything else has kind of been mentioned. If I've missed anything, my group can add to it.
Thank you, Blanca. Thank you. Okay, and goodness, it's always amazing how quickly the time goes. Let's continue on with these last 2 questions around moving forward and support. And I guess the first one is just more generally of, you know, what kind of supports would be helpful. And then I was interested in, you know, especially in terms of you know, the network, and, you know, in what ways can we be supportive? So how about we start with, let's start with Nettie's group with this one. What supports?
Okay. So one of the things that we discussed was the value of having these types of conversations where we connect with other programs and learn what others are doing, because sometimes as we hear what others are doing, it gives us ideas of what we could be doing or how we could maybe better be doing some of the things that we're trying. So creative ways to engage through discussions with others. Connection is so valuable for us, just being able to talk to each other. The newsletter was mentioned as being such a valuable tool for us each week, because there are a lot of resources included there. There's some teachings, there's just ideas. So definitely something that a lot of us look forward to reading on a weekly basis. So thank you, Sydney. We think you do a great job with that. And one person mentioned how vital partnerships are, because if we are able to partner with people, then we're able to do a lot more. And sometimes it's a difference between being able to offer the program and not being able to. Like in our case,
right.
We are able to offer our program because the church we rent is willing to allow us that space to do so. We just had to work out some of the details. So yes, success often is due to some of the partnerships that we can form within the community or even with other groups. My group, anything else you'd like to add? Okay, I think that was it for us.
Thanks, Nettie. Yvette, how about you?
Well, we would all like new cars, or vans or vehicles. Don't you think that's a good idea for?
Yes, I'm putting it down.
I never thought you would.
That would be wonderful.
Because, I mean, obviously there is mileage for the things that you do, but that doesn't cover your, you know, things like winter tires and extra oil changes. And so a lot of people are feeling that, you know, you are incurring more expenses upon yourself at this time than you normally would. And, you know, vehicle issues, there's load my vehicle, unload my vehicle, put my car seats in, forget my car seats, have to go back home and get the car seats because now I don't have them. And that sort of stuff, which just causes extra stress. My group, again, felt Zone Connection was invaluable. They just love it. It's the best to discuss issues, creative engagement, getting ideas from other people, find out what works, what doesn't work. Those kinds of ideas can be generated. And one of the things that came out was everybody wanted to say thank you, Sydney, for all the support that you give us.
Oh,
that you give to everybody. And I put 3 steps beside it. So you can knock that down. Sydney's great, right there on that line right there.
You.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, gang? Did I forget anything?
No, great. Thank you very much, Yvette.
Thank you. That's lovely. I'll take it. Gosh, I'm going to get verklempt here if we don't. Colleen.
I think the only thing that
Sorry, Colleen. Oh, I think everybody's frozen on me.
To this, hear me? I have my video off. No,
I'm hearing you again. I think I had a moment of destabilized internet here for a moment, but I seem to be back on. Everybody was frozen for me, but now we seem to be on a good Wi-Fi wave.
If others cannot hear me, I could type it in the chat box. Can someone give me a thumbs up, Nettie?
I can hear you clearly, Colleen. You're doing great.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. So I was singing your praises, Sydney, but you didn't hear me. So one of the other points that we brought forward was the actual how-tos, the processes to help us in this new way that we're providing programming. For example, setting up a Facebook page with privacy settings, all of those types of processes are very supportive in helping people move forward. We've been doing that within our organization. We have several sites, several staff, so not everyone is doing all the research. Somebody's taking on learning how to do a wee video production and then documenting that for others.
Right.
So I guess that documentation of processes.
Okay, that would be helpful. Right, if there was sort of an inventory a little bit, and I know that's one of our goals with the network is a best practice more to larger, but what I'm hearing is a more practical hands-on how-to gathering of resources.
Yeah, almost a how-to manual. Here's how you set up a virtual Zoom group or what have you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Colleen. Anything else?
That's all we had that was new.
Okay. Blanca?
I think everything has been mentioned. Well, and just to reiterate, the zone meetings were extremely valuable, and also the training, the group thought that it was fantastic and so well received and very timely. So the training that's offered through the network was of great value to everybody.
Great.
And also sessions like this one, it was mentioned, sessions where we can share what's happening and update each other and brainstorm.
Okay. Thank you. Going through all my names here, Nettie, Kim, Yvette, Colleen, I think everybody's reported back, is that right?
I didn't quite yet.
Oh, Kim. Okay.
That's okay. We did, actually most of it's been covered. Again, the people felt their zones were very supportive, and they really appreciated these type of meetings and training as well that come from the network. And if anything, training on virtual programs like the how-tos, I guess, tips and tricks, and sharing more about what everybody is doing individually, just getting the more details about some of those really new and innovative programs that are out there.
Thank you, Kim. I do see that we're, sort of 4 minutes past the time frame that I shared. With the last question, maybe why don't we just open it up and to see, is there anything that came up in your groups? Just kind of do a free-for-all for that one to see if there's...
I will offer something, Sydney, okay. Colleen here, and perhaps it should have went under what support is needed, but it did come up at this question. Someone requested a Nobody's Perfect type parenting program, but a virtual one, or other parenting programs that can be offered virtually.
Okay.
And Sydney, one thing I didn't mention for what support would be needed, it was mentioned that increased funding for the programs is definitely, as we all know, very much needed. So any increases to funding.
Oh, Blanca, Colleen here, and I'm just wondering too, something else that might go with that is just flexibility then to flex funding dollars, because some budget lines we're not spending, and
So that one, according to the most recent FAQ document that you hopefully have received, the national office is committing to flexibility. So as long as you have your budget transfers ready, or your conversations with the program consultant and your CGC officer, flexibility should be a a given, hopefully.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts around support? And again, certainly in the comments we have, I do hear a lot that in ways that the network can continue to be a support, and I will definitely, you know, we will look at that as a coordinating committee and continue to hopefully plan resources and supports and hold space like this. It sounds like is a good thing. So looking for more creative ways to continue to come together. But I want to make sure, is there any other comments that we want included in this? How can the network be a support? Okay, I do appreciate very much all of your input and conversation. And it is so great to come together. I know it lifts me up for sure. I will, as you know, I took notes during our conversation, and I will make that available. And we have been recording our large group as well, so that folks who haven't been here. And I guess we will just continue to do more of the same. Am I right in that there might be appetite for perhaps thinking more, thinking about thinking of this on a regular basis, a check-in discussion like this? Mm-hmm. Perhaps we could, where are we now? Sometime in the new year, would that seem to make sense? Like maybe a January check-in? Okay. Do we like the format of this? Where we sort of come together and then we go into small groups and then, okay. Great. And if you, as we, over the next couple months, as we build towards coming together again in January, if you have a thought of a particular question or resource or anything like that that we could bring to the table, just let me know. But, and we will keep all of this discussion, like the notes from these gatherings in a spot where people can read them. But I think you're right. There is something so valuable in just hearing from one another, and you know, being inspired by and energized by our colleagues all across the province. So I apologize for keeping you a little bit long. Is thinking 2 hours for these too long, or should I work hard to keep it to an hour and a half? Yeah, another thought. Hour and a half, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like 2 hours, so we're not quite so rushed.
Because I know we tried to do it in an hour last time, and that didn't work. So I went to an hour and a half. So, okay. So unless there's any final thoughts or comments, I thank you for all your kind words. I really, I enjoy myself so much in this role, and I enjoy doing this work with you all. So I'm glad that it's a helpful and good thing. And I'm always open to ideas and other ways. Are there other things in the newsletter that would be helpful to you? Just let me know, and we'll find out ways to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Have a wonderful rest of the day. And don't forget, there's an infant mental health webinar coming up a week from Friday. There'll be information in the newsletter tomorrow about that. And okay, that's all I can think of. There's more. There will be more, but I think it'll be a great webinar to support us in learning, increasing our knowledge around infant mental health. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you again.
Thanks, Sydney.
Bye-bye.